What's up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and since the launch of Title Update 15, I've been getting some requests from new and returning players to put together kind of a beginner's run and gun build based around the Negotiators Dilemma gear set. This thing is great for solo or group. It works in Countdown, and I wanted to share it with you today. Now, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that like button as well, and remember, we are currently having a giveaway for an Xbox Series X. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe here or follow on Twitter, and the winner will be announced on July 4th of this year. So one of the things I mention at the beginning of every build video I put together is I want to remind especially new and returning players that this is just a template. This is one of so many different ways you can run with Negotiators. The most important thing is to truly take your time and make a build your own. And what I mean when I say that is you could look at this build and decide, you know what, I don't want that much armor, I'd rather have weapon damage. You may want to run with a totally different talent on the chest or different skills altogether. So again, try out different variations and truly put something together that caters to your game style. Now you can see by the footage, I'm at Lincoln Memorial on heroic difficulty, and I'm absolutely shredding these enemies. It's so much fun to use this build. Now, one of the things I strongly recommend is anytime you're trying out a new build, go to a mission or a control point or something that you're familiar with. That way you know the timing of the NPC. And the only reason I say that is, in my opinion, that's how you can truly determine how the build is going to respond to how you play. Look, we all play this game differently. Again, that's why there are so many different ways you can put a build together. So when you go to a place where you know how the NPCs are going to spawn, you're really able to see how much damage you can take, how much damage you put out. And I also recommend you take that same build into a group, because remember, there is scaling when you're with more people, so you want to see how it responds in a group environment as well. Starting off as always with the Specialization, I'm using Technician for a very specific reason. That is so I can use the linked laser pointer on my primary and secondary weapon. Now, you do have other options, obviously, but this build is based around that. Now, regardless of which specialization you choose, always remember to have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're always getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of what you have equipped. My primary weapon for this build is a Vector SBR. Now, there are a handful of SMGs that you can equip the linked laser pointer to, and again, that is important with this build. You can see my secondary is the Kingbreaker. I'll get into that in a second, but with this Vector, you can see I'm using the talent Flatline, which amplifies weapon damage by 15% to pulsed enemies. After 3 kills, that applies pulse to the next enemy you hit. But again, because we're using that laser pointer, it is going to pulse everything we target, so we do not need to worry about losing that bonus. My secondary weapon for this build is the named assault rifle, the Kingbreaker. Absolutely love this weapon. It's at expertise level 3, so I get an extra 3% weapon damage bonus, and this has the talent Perfect Flatline, which amplifies weapon damage by 20% to pulsed enemies. Now, you can switch between this as your secondary or primary. It's totally up to you. As far as my handgun is concerned, I'm using a Liberty, so I gain proficiency with that weapon. I really don't touch the handgun with this build at all. Now, moving on to the gear itself, obviously it's Negotiators Dilemma. We're running all 4 pieces, so we get all of the gear set bonuses. You can see the 2-piece bonus gives you 15% crit hit chance, 3 pieces 20% crit hit damage, 4 pieces hostile negotiations, where critical hits marks enemies for 20 seconds, up to 3 marks total. When you critically hit a marked enemy, all other marked enemies take 60% of the damage dealt. Whenever a marked enemy dies, gain 2% crit hit damage, stacking up to 20 times or until the combat ends. Moving on to the body armor, and this is where you do have options. I'll show you a second one in a moment, but first of all, I want to show you what I'm running with in the video. It's the named Uzima body armor, the closer. It has the talent Perfect Spotter, which increases your weapon and skill damage by 20% to pulsed enemies. This body armor also gives you a 5% total armor increase, but let's say you don't have this piece as yet, or you just don't need that much armor, you're looking for something more aggressive, you can switch to a piece of Sokolov. You're going to get a 10% SMG damage bonus, and then you can pick the talent you want accordingly. You can just put the regular talent Spotter on there. Again, it's a little less amplified weapon damage, but it still gets the job done. Now you can see that since I equipped that piece of Sokolov, the base damage on my Vector went from 79,000 to 89,000. So again, have different variations. I mean, let's say if you wanted to run with this with an assault rifle as your primary, you could easily put a piece of Fenris on the chest. So again, my friends, try out different variations, and like I said earlier, make sure you try one version as solo and one version in a group. Moving on to the holster, the knee pads, and the gloves, they are the 3 remaining pieces of the Negotiators Dilemma gear set, and pretty much in all these pieces I'm trying to stack crit hit chance and crit hit damage. I'll go over the breakdown when we get to the actual stats. Now we make our way to the backpack. I've chosen to run with the Memento because in my opinion it is still by far one of the best exotics in the game. Now if you don't have it as yet, you can choose it as your targeted loot in the summit, or I strongly recommend farming Countdown because you get a ton of loot in a short amount of time. Now if you don't have it and you're looking for another option, I recommend running with a gear set that matches your primary weapon. So if you're running an SMG, you're going to pick Sokolov. If you're running an AR, you're going to pick Fenris. And I also recommend the talent Adrenaline Rush. It will give you extra armor when you're close to NPCs and will definitely help you out. As far as my skills are concerned, I'm using the Assault Drone because it's a great distraction to NPC and it puts out damage, and I have the Crusader Shield because things always get sideways, at least for me in this game, or sometimes they do, I don't know. Now we make our way to the stats. You can see I'm sitting at 57% crit hit chance. Remember the max is 60 and my crit hit damage is at 153.4. Again, depending on the gear you have and the build and all that stuff, those numbers could vary, but if it's close to that range, you're definitely going to be putting out a ton of damage. Most of you know by now that one of my favorite aspects about putting build videos together is the family that we have at the channel. We are always helping each other out. So if you have any tips you want to pass along to new and returning players, please let me know in the section down below, as the main goal is to try to help out as many people as we can. And as I start to wrap this video up, one of the best things about the game in my opinion right now is the fact that there are so many different ways you can run with the build. I mean, as I was going through this version, I mentioned like 3 others, and I mean, again, just have fun, try out different things, and really put something together that you enjoy using. With all that being said, I want to take a moment as always and thank you all for the incredible support you show me at this channel, and remind you once again, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know in the section down below and I will try to get back to you as quick as I can. On that note, I'm going to let the rest of the video play out. However, like I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that like button as well, but most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.
According to the schematics Isaac pulled upstairs, we can lock that tunnel door from their control center. That should keep them from being able to transport those mortars loaded with SMG. I got it! That should keep them from getting more of those mortars.
Fuck you! You
Good work. Go on ahead back up. The team from the campus has taken position inside the memorial. If you hadn't stopped them, I know they would have used those weapons on us, and we would have ended up like Castle. I can't tell you how relieved I am to have you on our side. Thank you. Today, we dealt a great blow to the True Sun's infrastructure. We confiscated a massive cache of chemical weapons and eliminated a stronghold near the campus. You should be proud. You saved a lot of lives.